you could be leaving so much money on the table simply because you're waiting for this magical moment in time to monetize your podcast. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see podcasters make when it comes to monetizing their show. Not only that, they think that the best way and the only way to monetize their show is with ads and sponsorships. So in today's episode, I am going to break down why ads and sponsorships is probably the slowest growth, the slowest way to make money ever, and how you can start monetizing your show right now, even if you're getting 200 downloads per episode. So let's get started. Now, here's the thing. Yes, ads and sponsorships is probably the most popular way that podcasters make money in this podcasting space. However, here's what you need to understand. You're going to make somewhere between 18 to 40 cents per download on your show, which means that for you to make a reasonable amount of money, you need a lot of downloads. And that means that depending on the size of your audience, you could be waiting for a reasonable amount of time before you start to see any money coming in. The other thing is that depending on the topic of your show, if you're talking about something that is considered controversial, you might have a hard time finding people to actually sponsor your show for you. So that is another thing for you to keep in mind. Next, let's say you have a lot of downloads. Doesn't necessarily mean that those downloads are going to translate into numbers. For example, one time I spoke with a podcaster. She had a huge show, over 1 million downloads. Every episode was getting anywhere between 700 to 1,000 downloads within the first few days. And yet she was making zero money from her podcast. And this goes to show that if you don't have a plan on how you're going to monetize your show, podcasting for the sake of podcasting or starting a podcast because you think that's how you're going to make so much money, it's not going to do anything for your business. So let's talk about what are the ways that you can actually start monetizing your show right now. And this will work great if you are somebody who is a service provider, if you have a product that you sell, or if there's something that you do really well that is something that is monetizable. For example, a few months ago, I had a client come to me and she was getting 5,000 downloads or so, and she was hosting her podcast on Spotify because that's what she thought was the best way to monetize her show. And on a good month, she was making $40 per month. Now, we started working together and we tweaked a few things in her show. And within a few weeks, she was able to make $400 from a deal. Plus, she started booking regular clients from her show because I found out that she was able to do this really cool chart readings. And I was like, why are we not monetizing this? And just from there, she was able to start getting regular clients into her show just by making a few tweaks. So the first thing you need to find out is, what do I actually want to sell? And if you are a service provider, that is easy, right? Because let's say if you are a VA, if you help somebody with YouTube, or if you help somebody with a project, let's say you're a project manager or whatever, that is something very specific that you can sell right then and there. So you can start monetizing your show with this product that you have, with this very specific service that you have right then and there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just start promoting it, and it's an easy thing that you can do. And the cool thing is that if you focus on that one product, it makes it very easy for people to come and work with you because that is the one thing that you do. So right then and there, what are things that you are able to sell that somebody would be willing to pay money for, and start right there. And just to give you some ideas, maybe you can help them with an email sequence. Maybe you can help them with setting up a funnel of some sort. Maybe you can help them with setting up ClickUp and having all these automations, whatever the case may be. If you have this expertise, this is one of the ways that you can start monetizing your podcast from the get-go. The next thing that you can offer is something a little bit more specific. So like, let's say if you have coaching, or if you offer an audit or anything like that, that is more like one session focus. Like I said, my client Remy, she was doing this chart reading. So that is how we found out that she could monetize her show. So think about, what are those one-on-one things that I can sell that doesn't necessarily need to be coaching, right? But what are things that you can start offering right now because you have this expertise? And here's the thing too that I should have started with. If you don't yet know, you are so close to your genius that you don't know that you could actually make money with this thing. So it takes a few degrees of separation for you to be like, oh, actually, I could make money selling this thing. So You really have to take time to dig deep and figure out what are the things that you could sell on your podcast, because you are sitting on a gold mine, because I know that there's something out there that you could sell right now. Other things that you could sell that are in this realm of coaching and whatnot could be VIP days, strategy sessions. So again, just thinking about things that people would pay money for in exchange of an hour of your time. The next way that you could monetize your podcast is with digital products. So that could be courses, it could be templates that you sell on Etsy, it could be programs, courses. There's just so many things that you could sell. So think about swipe files, bundles, like the sky is the limit here, but there's just so many things that you could start monetizing your podcast with right now. And especially if you are in this online space and you are a service provider, or you are a coach, a consultant, if you are a course creator, you already know this. You already know that you could use your podcast as a funnel to monetize your show without waiting for crazy download numbers or this magical day where the stars align and sponsors are knocking on your door because they cannot wait to work with you. Which brings me to my next point. Working with ads and sponsorships is not that easy. There's so many times where you are very selective with ads, but at the end of the day, it is the company where you're hosting your podcast in that will decide the ads that are going to go on your show. Ads also tend to break up the flow of your podcast, so it can be a very uncomfortable experience for your listener too. So you have to consider user experience as well. And then the other thing is with sponsorships is that there are rules that you need to follow. There are things that you can and cannot say depending on the type of episode that you have or the topic that you're covering. They might not cover, they might not pay for that episode. So there's so many fine lines that you have to walk when it comes to ads and sponsorships. And that's really not as sexy and as amazing as it may seem. And when you have your own product and your own service that you offer, the sky is the limit. There's so much that you can do. You have so much flexibility. You just get to build a relationship with your listeners and you don't have to wait on anybody. For example, I started monetizing my show when I had 1,400 downloads all time. That's not a lot of downloads. For the specific month when I started promoting something on my show, which was my coaching back then, I had 756 downloads for that month. So again, I am here to tell you that you don't need crazy numbers for you to start making money from your show. You could literally start right where you are. And one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my own journey as a podcaster was not monetizing my show from day one. I thought that I needed to wait until I was ready, or whatever excuse I gave myself at the time. But honestly, this is when being strategic about your show pays off, because if I knew then what I know now, I would have started promoting coaching on my episode from day one, because that's how I started monetizing my show. So that was the biggest mistake I made, because for 3 months I could have been making money and I didn't. But the minute that I started promoting coaching on my episodes, somebody booked. And it was amazing. And I haven't stopped promoting something in my episodes ever since, because it is that powerful. And here's the other thing you need to consider too, is that people who listen to podcasts, they are committed. Podcast is the one platform where you have somebody's attention for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So compare that to social media where everybody's scrolling and just not focusing on anything really. You have so much of their attention, which means that if they're landing on your podcast episode, they need that information that you're sharing. They're committed. They want to change something. And if you have the next thing that will help them with whatever they need help with, they will buy from you. So you need to consider that if you want to make money podcasting and make it as fast as humanly possible. And at the end of the day, if you're not quite sure, because maybe it sounds so obvious to you because you're not already a service provider, you just need to write down the things that you're really good at, the things you enjoy, the things that people normally come to you for naturally for help. That is a very good indication that people would pay you money to actually get your help on that thing. And you'd be so surprised at the type of things that people pay money for. Like it could be even like recipes, it could be help following a certain style of diet. Let's say you were a fruitarian and there are people coming to you because they also want to be fruitarian, but they're addicted to salt or whatever. like that could be a way that you help people. Like there are just so many ways that you could monetize your podcast that you might not even have thought about. The biggest thing that you need to remember here is that you do not need a lot of downloads, thousands of downloads in order for you to start monetizing your show. You could start where you are right now and make money podcasting. There are a few things that you need to make sure that you do, right? So for example, if you are going to monetize your podcast with whatever product or service, then you need to make sure that you're promoting that on your show as well. Because just because you have this thing that you sell, if you're not actually promoting and telling people to come work with you or to come buy your thing, then people are just not going to know. The other thing too is don't go ahead and create an ad or, get weird about selling. Just organically promote what it is that you're selling in your podcast episode. Make it part of the episode. Don't feel weird. It belongs inside of your episode, because especially if it's the next best step that somebody can take, which is come get your breakthrough and work with me, then it's a no-brainer. Just go ahead and talk about it in your podcast episode and let people know that they can work with you or they can buy this thing from you, which is going to help them. So don't feel weird about selling in your podcast. On the flip side of that, you want to make sure that you're also not heavily promoting. So it needs to be like an organic conversation. So consider this, like if you were talking to your friend and you say, hey friend, I have this thing, come work with me. You wouldn't go on and on and on about how they have to buy and they should buy and all the reasons why buying is the next best step. Just organically talk about it. And you'll be surprised at how quickly people are going to start buying from you. I have a client, Cheyenne, that's what she started doing. She started her podcast and she wasn't really quite sure how she was going to monetize. In the beginning, she was promoting her offers, her services, and then eventually she created a course and then she started promoting the course. And then she sold 3 courses overnight shortly after she launched her program. This had never happened before. And it happened because we had set up her show as a funnel. And I had coached her on how to actually promote her course organically in her episode, and people just started buying. So this is the power of you combining your genius with a really good podcast episode that actually helps people, because then you're positioning yourself as a no-brainer, as the obvious next step, and people just want to come and work with you. Now listen, I have made so many podcasting mistakes. You have just heard about the one monetization mistake that I made. So in the next episode, I'm going to break down all the mistakes that I have made, all the things that I wish I knew when I had started podcasting. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss that episode when it goes live.